Hello, my lovely Leo, and welcome to your monthly moon reading. This is just a general reading, so please do take what resonates and toss the rest. Also, if you haven't had a chance to check out your weekly energy reading, please do so. They are up on my channel. Otherwise, hit the like, subscribe, share, and notification bell if you would, so you don't miss your July reading. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into your 7-card moon circle. This first spot is indicative of what you're currently facing now or what situation you're in. Second card is what led you to this situation. Third card is kind of like a challenge card. It's what's kind of keeping you in this situation or cycle. Fourth card is your ultimate outcome if you follow the 5th, 6th, and 7th card. So let's see what we're looking at for you. Hopefully you can see this, and we'll certainly go through it one by one though. And let's see what we've got for you, Leo. All right, so right now I feel like you guys are just holding on to your faith. So for those of you who are like just hanging by a thread, beat down, tired, exhausted, you are over it. Maybe you have, you're dying for a relationship and you just can't find the right one, or you're in a relationship and you're just over it, you want out of it. You've got faith that you're gonna have a better one. You've got faith that that you can find one. Maybe those of you who are looking for a job and you just can't find one, you're keeping the faith that there's one out there for those that you'll enjoy, right? For those of you that have a job that you really dislike, you're keeping the faith that things will get better, or that you'll find something else better. But I feel like this is what you're doing right now. You're just holding on to faith. So that's great. But for a lot of you, it's kind of just like, you're just kind of struggling a little bit, to be honest with you. I feel like you're not thriving, you're surviving right now. Okay, so I feel like that's where you are for a lot of you, unfortunately. What led you to that was peace. Okay, and you're like, how can peace possibly lead me to a place where I'm struggling? Well, it's the idea that you want to keep the peace. Okay, so it's kind of almost like being passive. Okay, and I know typically that's not something that Leos are known for, is being super passive, and I say that as an Aries because we're not super passive either, but I'm also not a confrontational person. So I think for a lot of you, this is the true situation. You don't necessarily want to have a lot of friction. You just want to kind of have peace most of the time, right? So you'd rather things kind of just fall into your lap if they can. You'd love that perfect relationship to just fall in your lap. You don't want to have to go out there and battle and fight for a relationship, have to compete with other people, right? For somebody, on a dating app or this or that. You don't want to have to fight with your significant other over stuff. You'll stay in that relationship just to keep the peace and keep the faith that maybe it'll get better, even if it won't, right? Same with a job. You'd rather just keep the peace and stay at that job than have to quit, have animosity, or fight them for a raise, have issues there. That's kind of the thing. You just kind of want to avoid all of that and just keep the faith that maybe things will get better on its own, and it's just not, right? So this is kind of what's keeping you in that is discernment, right? And it's because you don't really want to have to make decisions, right? You don't really want to have to make any decision that's going to be too extreme, right? Right now, you're kind of like putting that off. Yeah, I should quit this job because it's really getting me nowhere. I'm not happy with it, yada, 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 that kind of situation. But I'm just going to stay for a little while longer. Maybe something better will just pop up. Well, they don't just pop up if you're not really out there looking. You have to release to receive most of the time, right? You have to be actively looking, right? If you're in a relationship you're not thrilled with, you're not happy, it's not getting any better, it's not going to get any better if it's, that's kind of like expecting something, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Definition of crazy kind of thing. So, you're making not the best decisions here necessarily, but you're kind of hoping, well, maybe somebody great will just turn up and sweep me off my feet. But if you're still in a relationship or you're not putting yourself out there, how's that going to happen, right? Because you have to release and be open to receive somebody new. Be looking, be open to it, those kinds of things. And so you're not being very discerning with yourself as a commodity right now in the job market or in relationship status. Take it as it resonates for you specifically, whatever it is that you're kind of not thrilled with. But I do feel like you are having a specific thing, maybe both, but something that you're just really not over the moon about. So your ultimate outcome though is darkness. And this is actually a really good card. I like this card a lot. So it's not terrible. You think darkness, well, that's terrible. But really darkness is, if you look, this little bunny is there. And what it is it's a card about watching and waiting and seeing from the shadows, kind of. So it's where you learn about things. You learn about people. You learn about, it's not taking things at face value. It's not trusting blindly what people say to you, right? So for example, if you are going to a job interview and they're not going to tell you, hey, you know what, this company absolutely sucks to work for, let's take this job, right? They're not going to tell you that, but you might be able to watch and see what other people say about it on the internet, on anonymous sources, right? Same thing with a relationship. Nobody's going to say, hey, I'm a narcissistic, abusive jerk face, date me, right? That's not what they're going to present themselves as, but you might be able to kind of view and see, hey, they've gone through 15 exes in the last 5 years and they all say the same thing about them. We might, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So this is kind of like where you get to a point in your life where instead of just blindly having faith with things, you become a person who starts learning to observe, to be more, less trusting. And I know that sounds like kind of like a bad thing, to be a skeptic or a non-trusting person. You may not want to be that, but in some cases it's actually a positive thing, right? Not to be so blindly trusting, right? But I think you'll go from where you're somebody who is completely just, I'll have faith that everything's going to work out, to somebody who, you know, kind of watches for all the signs, knows what they're looking for, knows what to see, so that they go in with a really good background, a really due diligence attitude, and not just accepting what people say, because, you know, actions are worth, actions speak louder than words, a picture's worth 1,000 words, all that kind of good stuff, right? But how do you get here? How do you get to the point where you are willing to put yourself out there and, you know, be willing to do that background and be willing to let yourself be open to this, right? How do you do that? And the first thing is extremes, right? You're gonna have to do something extreme. For those of you who are miserable in your jobs, you may have to quit that job, and that may be like crazy to you. Okay, if I quit this job, what do I do in the interim? You know, you may just have to walk out and say enough's enough, or give them an ultimatum, and if they don't accept it, you may have to be willing to take it and leave, right? And you may be willing to have to take a couple part-time jobs in the interim until you find your dream job, so that you have time to go out and actively search, actively put yourself into that candidacy pool, where you're able to, you know, go and show yourself for the, you know, the candidate you are. Same thing with if it's a relationship. You may have to give up the comfort of a relationship, even if it's not super comfortable, but it's what you know of that relationship, by just cutting ties. And you may have to be alone for a short time, or you may have to, you know, put yourself out there, which is uncomfortable and extreme to you, but you may have to do that in order to get to that place, okay? And just accept that. The next thing you have to do is focus. You really have to focus on what you want and go for it, right? This isn't something where you can just say, you know, it's just gonna fall into my lap. Hopefully one day I'll just kind of, if I stop thinking about it, it'll just fall in my lap. That does, you know, there is some truth to it. Seems like things happen when you stop looking for it, you know, but in reality, let's be serious. If you're putting yourself out there and you're really trying to find things, you're more likely to get them than if you're not putting yourself out there at all. Let's be honest. So focusing on it, putting yourself out there is going to be much more likely to get you where you want to go, right? So focus on it. Get your goal in mind, whatever it is. If it's a person you want, if it's a job you want, if it's a house you want, if it's a situation you want, whatever it is, focus on it and go for it, right? And then the last one here is assessing. And this is probably the key point here, because assessing is where you get to start making your own choices, your own decisions, okay, about what it is you really want in your life. You're assessing your options. And the positive thing about this is that you have options to assess, okay? So once you've taken the extreme to get rid of whatever you're tied into and unhappy with, and you focused on putting yourself out there, okay, you're going to find that you have options. And this is something you haven't had for a very long time, I sense, for a lot of you, in whatever aspect we're discussing here that resonates with you personally. So if it's a relationship, you may feel like you've been very locked into this relationship for way too long. You may have known it, it's way past its expiration date. Same with the job, if that's what it is for you. But here, once you get to this point, you're gonna actually have options where you can assess which one would make me happier, which one would really fulfill me, which one would be the most joyful, right? And that's the beautiful part of that, because that's when you get to this point, which is the ultimate point, where you get to actually, instead of just having faith, blindly trusting, blindly hoping, you know, you get to take things into your own hands, right? You get to do that background, you get to do that due diligence, you get to make a smart, educated, you know, not jaded, not biased, not you know, fed to you decision, but one that you are choosing based on what you actually know to be true or feel to be true, because you've done the actual background, you know, the stuff that matters, not just because you're trying to keep the peace, not because you made bad quick choices, not because you just had blind faith or trust in something, but because you did your due diligence. So it's going to work out for you 1,000 times better. But the beauty here again is it all is going to start with the fact that you're going to have options to choose, and then be able to make a good choice, much better than the ones you've made in the past. And I think that's something that you'll learn too, is in the past you may have just taken whatever people told you at face value. They may have fed you what you wanted to hear, and you got yourself in a situation. And this is a learning thing, right? Here you've learned, I'm not just going to take what people say and believe it anymore. I want to see all aspects. I want to see it from every angle, right? I'm going to hide and watch. I want to know what's up. So that shows growth in you as well. So hopefully this resonated with you. And if it did, please do like, subscribe, share, all that other great stuff. And don't forget to hit that notification bell for your July reading. Otherwise, I hope to see you back soon. But I definitely think that this looks like you are going to be opening yourself up to many more positive options and making much better choices for a much brighter future than what you're currently feeling stuck in. I feel like a lot of you are stuck in something right now, whether it's job or relationship, and I see nothing but a future of choices for you. So that's fantastic. So hope to see you soon. Bye.